be real with you. Some folks are never going to get it. Never. They got to go. Maybe their children will get it. We have to understand that there are people, I'm not talking about killing them, but they're going to have to go.
Oh, okay.
No. I mean, but they have to die off. In other words, no matter what you share with them, there's a disincentive for them to engage you because of the reasons you named. They have had greed and pleasure and material wealth that is, in some ways, barred them from their own reality.
And you know, it's interesting, it segues right back to post-traumatic slave syndrome. Those kind of people implemented the slave trade.
There you go. There you go.
So while we're working out our problems as victims, it would seem intelligent to find some means of having these who carried out this institution of slavery to confront their own deeds.
Well, some of them are. I think
so?
they're, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you have a
why are
younger
they
generation.
robbing so many corporations and each other and nations?
There's some that are going to go out that way. They're going to go out kicking and screaming. They're certainly not going to relinquish the power. They're sick and drunk on it. They're obsessed, and they're as addicted to that power and that greed as someone is to heroin. It is what they've known, and they have no intention of giving it up, no matter how many people they take down that look like them. It doesn't matter. Those folks lie in a place where it is going to require, you know, I don't know, an act of God to take them out. And then there are those who might hear. And there are plenty of people who are wealthy, and I'm not suggesting that all those that are wealthy have that idea, because that's not true at all. There are those who are very quietly, in their own way, in corporate America, in various places in this country, that are trying to somehow balance the scale there in the best way that they can. But we have to recognize that where we are right now, we're in a quagmire that is going to take quite a bit to undo ourselves from. And in the meantime, those of us on the ground, we got to take a look at who we are and where we are, because it's not likely to come from the top.
Okay, I got another question or two, but we need to take another break.
Okay.
As you'll see. Without being too persnickety and too nosy, but people are hungry to know a little bit about you. And you are going through your own trauma. How much can you share with me and my audience?
You know, I'm open. What I want to share, I will share. And one of the things that I wanted to be very, very clear about, recently I did a talk in Mount Vernon a couple of days ago. And, you know, people know that they say, Dr. Joy, Dr. De Gruy, Dr. Lee, what's going on? Okay. And, you know, I think some things are just real evident and very obvious. And I have gone through a divorce.
I'm not interested in the quarrel.
I understand.
I want to know what kind of atmosphere.
Here's what's so important. I'm probably one of the few people, I've never been so excited about making the mistakes that I've made in my life, because I've learned so tremendously from them. And what I've learned in this process, in this divorce, and essentially, you know, going back to my maiden name, which is De Gruy, which, like in the scheme of things, none of them are our names. Okay, so in the reality, it's none of our names. So that becomes less important to me. More important to my ex-husband, who wants his name back, and he got it, and I think he should have it. And understanding that because families, and like I said, I am the first one to look in the mirror. The first thing I want to think about is, how do we do this thing? How do we, even within families like this one, even though this was not a desire I had or my choice even, you know, you have to have two people that are willing to be in a marriage or in any situation. And at the point that somehow fails, it speaks to the need of stopping the hemorrhage. Doesn't mean that everyone should be lacerated, should bleed, and we should have negative and hate each other. And none of those things have to be present. And we have been able to, if you think about it, in African Americans, being a black woman, we have been able to sustain so many things. We have been able to live through having folks sold off and raped, and my God, we've been able to live through it all. And at this point in my life, I'm committed to healing, and physician, heal thyself. Let's be clear. The first and foremost person that has to be well is me. And I need to, in order to do that, I I need to be able to see myself squarely. I'll tell you something I learned in this process. This was absolutely amazing. I started to ask those people closest to me who I trusted and who would tell me the truth. I need you to tell me the truth, even when it's hard, right? I said, what did you see? Help me understand what you saw. And here is something that's not the only thing, but that I learned in this process of the dissolution of my marriage of 14 years. What I saw, people said, Joy, you became someone else. Now this amazed me.
Meaning?
He was in the frame, cannot see the picture. That somehow they saw a disconnection between who I am authentically and when I was with my husband. I was a different person, which probably he saw too. Now I had to get in touch with why I became her, why that happened to me, what was going on with me that I felt like I couldn't be authentically me, and what happens when the representative leaves, okay, and the real me shows up. What happens and why it was. And then I asked people, I said, did you see it? They said, oh yeah, we saw it. I said, why didn't you tell me?
Was your success threatening or intimidating in some way?
You know, I would be very reticent to speak about that because
Okay.
I don't think that's fair.
All right.
I think I can only speak from the vantage point of where I am and what my experience was, and I wouldn't be, you know, like I said, I have a great deal of respect and
Right.
love, and that I would never want to in any way, you know, point a finger at anybody.
I'm sorry. What prompted me to ask the question is something that Hazel Scott told me. When Adam met her, and he told a friend of his, I'm going to marry her. Mm-hmm. He said, but I'm not going to marry her until I go to Congress, because I don't want anybody to call me Mr. Hazel Scott, because she was a well-known performer.
Exactly.
Because he sort of felt intimidated by that.
Sure.
And that it might make his... And so, is that a roundabout way of asking you whether your prominence and your stardom, for lack of a better word,
Oh, God.
was intimidating?
You know, again, the only reason why I'm hedging on that is because I think that's an unfair question to ask me. Only in this regard, that I think that there's first of all, there are any number of things that I think occur, and in any divorce, you have people. The two people are the principal folks there. Now, there are a lot of things that occur in that, and again, out of really sheer respect, I'm being very careful. And I think that everything affects everything. How it affects it, why it affects it, you know, I can't really make that call. But I think that as black men and black women, we have to learn how to love each other through some very difficult social, public, and private issues.
I apologize to you on camera for being insensitive, but I'm going back to that Adam Clayton Powell statement, and what he did not want is to be, you know, second banana.
Sure.
You know, he wanted to have his status and whatnot.
Manhood.
Yes.
What we're talking about is manhood.
All right, okay.
And we're talking about manhood.
But is it a flip situation? Possibly in other relationships?
I think it absolutely can be, and I think that part of that, which you're speaking to in terms of men, black men, and is the whole idea they've been so emasculated, you see. And when you look at black women almost being pitted against black men socially, there was a point at which black women could work and black men couldn't because they were the threat. They had a bullseye on them, always. So I'm really, really hypersensitive to that